in a quiet little village surrounded by golden fields and whispering trees, there lived a poor boy named Amir. He was small and thin, with dark hair that always seemed tousled by the wind, and eyes that sparkled with curiosity. Amir lived with his old grandmother in a tiny clay house at the edge of the village. They had very little, just a small patch of land, a few hens, and a cracked pot they used for cooking. Yet in that simple home there was always warmth, laughter, and the smell of freshly baked bread when they had enough grain to spare. Every morning, Amir would wake up before the sun rose, when the sky was still painted in shades of soft blue and silver. He would step outside, barefoot on the cool earth, and breathe in the freshness of dawn. The fields shimmered with dew, and the air was filled with the songs of birds, sparrows, doves, and colorful parakeets that fluttered around like little rainbows. Amir loved them all. He often said to his grandmother, "Nani, these birds are like little souls of the sky. They sing to me every morning." His grandmother would smile, her wrinkled face softening. "Yes, my child. They sing because you listen. Most people walk by and never hear." When the warm season ended and winter began to creep into the land, life grew harder for Amir and his grandmother. The fields were bare, the winds howled through the cracks in their walls, and food became scarce. They had only a small bag of wheat left. Each day, Amir would grind a little, mix it with water, and make thin flatbread for them to share. His grandmother often pretended she wasn't hungry so that Amir could eat more, but Amir noticed. He always did. One frosty morning, as Amir was walking through the fields to collect firewood, he saw something that made his heart ache. A small group of birds huddled together under a leafless tree. Their feathers were puffed up from the cold, and their little feet left faint marks in the snow. Amir reached into his pocket, hoping to find a crumb, anything to feed them, but all he had was a small piece of bread he'd saved for his lunch. He looked at it, then at the birds. He hesitated. The bread was small. If he gave it away, he'd go hungry until night. Then he remembered his grandmother's words. Kindness given to the hungry, whether man or creature, always returns, though not always in the way you expect. With a gentle smile, Amir broke the bread into small pieces and scattered it on the ground. The birds hopped closer, chirping softly. Their eyes were bright with trust. Within moments, they were pecking happily, their tiny wings fluttering in gratitude. Amir stood watching, his hunger forgotten. There was a warmth in his chest that no blanket could give. That night, the wind howled outside their little house, and the old lamp flickered weakly. Amir's grandmother coughed softly as she lay under her blanket. Amir sat near the small fire, staring into the glowing embers. He couldn't stop thinking about the birds. Suddenly, there came a faint tapping at the window. Tap, tap, tap. Amir froze. Who could be visiting at this hour? He opened the wooden shutter and peered out into the night. To his astonishment, he saw a small white bird perched on the windowsill. Its feathers shone in the firelight like fresh snow, and its black eyes gleamed with something almost human. Amir whispered, "You're one of the birds from the field." "Aren't you?" The bird tilted its head as if understanding. Then it chirped once softly and flew away into the night, leaving behind something small and shining on the window ledge. Amir reached out and picked it up. It was a tiny silver seed, smooth and glowing faintly like moonlight. He showed it to his grandmother, who blinked in surprise. "Plant it tomorrow, my boy," she said weakly. "Maybe the earth will bless us." The next morning, Amir took the glowing seed and planted it near the old well behind their house. The ground was hard and cold, but he dug carefully, covered the seed with soil and whispered, "Grow strong, little one." Days passed. Snow still covered most of the village, but one morning, Amir saw something green sprouting through the white frost. A tiny shoot, full of life. Within a week, it grew taller than any plant he had ever seen. Its stems shimmered faintly, and its leaves sparkled when sunlight touched them. Then one morning, the plant bore fruit, golden fruit that glowed like small suns. Amir gasped. He picked one of the fruits and took it to his grandmother. When she opened it, they found not just soft, sweet flesh, but grains of gold hidden inside. Amir's grandmother wept. "The heavens have blessed you, my son. This is what kindness brings." From that day, their lives changed. Amir sold a few of the golden grains in the village market. With that money, he bought warm clothes, food, and even fixed the roof of their house. Yet, even as life grew easier, Amir never forgot the birds. Every morning, he still took a handful of grain, not gold, but simple grain, and scattered it for them, smiling as they gathered around him. Soon, everyone in the village noticed Amir's strange luck. People whispered among themselves, "How did that poor boy become rich? Maybe he found a treasure, or maybe he practices magic." One greedy merchant named Karim decided to find out. He followed Amir secretly one morning and saw him scattering grains for the birds. He laughed mockingly. "Ha! So this fool thinks feeding birds makes him lucky? What nonsense!" But when Karim saw the beautiful golden tree behind Amir's house, his greed burned brighter than ever. That night, he crept into Amir's yard and stole one of the golden fruits. When he reached home, he cracked it open eagerly. But instead of gold, a swarm of angry black crows burst out. They filled his house, pecking at everything, breaking jars and tearing cloth. Karim screamed and ran into the street, covering his head. The villagers gathered, laughing at the sight. He learned his lesson well. Kindness cannot be stolen. It must be earned. One day, word of the golden tree reached the king's palace. The king, a wise man with a long beard and kind eyes, decided to visit the village himself. When he arrived, people bowed and cheered, but Amir didn't even notice. He was busy feeding his birds as usual. The king smiled at the sight and approached him. "Young boy," said the king, "I've heard tales of your golden tree. Tell me, how did you grow such a wonder?" Amir told him the whole story, from the hungry winter to the white bird and the glowing seed. The king listened carefully, and when Amir finished, he said, "You are richer than any man in my kingdom." "Amir, not because of gold, but because of your heart." He offered Amir a place in his palace, promising wealth and comfort. But Amir shook his head. "Thank you, Your Majesty, but my home is here, with my grandmother and my birds." "I'm happy just to care for them," the king smiled. He placed a hand on Amir's shoulder and said, "Then may your kindness continue to bloom forever." Before leaving, he ordered that Amir's village be granted new wells, schools, and grain stores, all in honor of the boy who fed the birds. Time passed. Amir grew into a young man, strong and wise. His golden tree continued to bear fruit, but he gave away most of it to the poor. The villagers loved him dearly, and every bird in the valley seemed to know his name. His grandmother, before she passed away peacefully, told him one last thing. "Amir, when you feed those birds, you're feeding the soul of the world. Never stop." And he never did. Every morning, long after his hair had turned gray, people could still see him walking to the edge of the field with a small bag of grain. The birds would come in clouds, sparrows, doves, and even the little white bird that had first brought him the seed. They would circle above him, singing joyfully. And in that golden light, Amir would smile. The same gentle smile of a boy who once gave away his last piece of bread.